Listen, Little Man, Wilhelm Reich's Heavy Metal Manifesto. Some books are written to comfort the soul, others are written to shatter it. Wilhelm Reich's Listen, Little Man, penned in 1946, undeniably belongs to the latter. It is a text manifesto, a deeply personal yet universal cry that remains shockingly relevant in the 21st century. The context of bitterness, a persecuted pioneer. To understand the raw intensity of this book, one must dive into the era it was born. Reich, one of Sigmund Freud's most brilliant students, wrote this text during a period of intense personal and professional trial. Having dedicated his life to researching Org-1, a universal life energy that he believed connected mental health with physical freedom, he found himself in the crosshairs of the scientific and political establishment. His theories were dismissed as pseudoscience, his research was banned, and he was ultimately driven to prison. This bitterness and disillusionment spill over every page. Critics could easily dismiss it as the resentful outburst of a wounded ego. Yet, it is precisely this emotional charge that gives the work its raw, authentic power. Reich's bitterness turns into a sharp scalpel that strips society bare. A brilliant mind in human psychology. Despite the disillusionment clouding his words, the reader cannot help but bow to the sheer stature of the scientist. Reich emerges from the text as an exceptional psychiatrist with highly original and pioneering ideas for his time. He demonstrates a profound understanding of the human psyche, unlocking its defensive mechanisms in ways few of his contemporaries could. He doesn't settle for surface-level symptoms, he dives straight into the root causes of human behavior. Mass Psychology, The Trap of Safety versus Freedom. The book serves as a ruthless critique of what we conventionally call the chavrage man. Reich aims his arrows at the masses, who consciously choose safety over freedom. Freedom, after all, demands virtues the average man fears: responsibility, accountability, and a high social consciousness. The easy way out, safety, is to hand over the responsibility of one's life to a system or a tyrant. That way, the individual can act irresponsibly, hidden behind the convenient excuse, "What can I do? I'm just an ordinary guy." Reich exposes a devastating historical truth: this very same ordinary guy claiming helplessness is the one who carried out the mass atrocities in Nazi Germany. He is the same one who turned the October Revolution, a monumental social uprising, into a brutal tyranny. Dictators would hold no power if the little man didn't hand it to them on a silver platter, just to escape the heavy burden of personal responsibility. The counter-argument: how is that little man fabricated? This is where modern critique might disagree with or expand upon Reich's theory. The author places almost the entire blame on the individual. He overlooks the fact that those who rule control education and culture, which are explicitly designed to manufacture little men. Even in modern democracies, we witness a massive paradox. On one hand, citizens have the voting right to determine their fate. On the other hand, when it comes to truly serious issues, governments and power structures constantly signal that citizens are not qualified to decide, stripping them of their agency. The little man, therefore, isn't just a psychological choice of the masses, he is the product of a system that enforces irresponsibility to maintain control. Yet, this critical extension would likely find Reich in agreement. In his book, he makes it clear that he doesn't want to be dogmatic, nor does he demand the blind repetition of his words. Instead, he urges the reader to take his thoughts and push them a step further. His ultimate wish was for science and thought to evolve, not stagnate. The mind-body connection, a foundational truth. If we strip Reich's work of its era-specific metaphysical exaggerations, like Org-1 accumulators, what remains at its core is a fundamental truth fully recognized by modern medicine and psychology: the significance of psychosomatic unity. A positive mental state, optimism, and belief in recovery are proven to give patients much better odds. Conversely, poor mental health, chronic anxiety, suppressed emotions, and depression act as toxins to the body, undermining the immune system. As a visionary of psychosomatic medicine, Reich grasped this long before it became medical dogma. A hidden, subversive optimism. Despite the pervasive bitterness and aggressive tone, the paradox of Listen, Little Man is that at its core, it remains a deeply optimistic book. Reich does not write out of hatred or nihilism. If he believed humanity was a lost cause, he would have chosen silence. His angry roar is actually an act of love, a violent jolt to wake us up. The author maintains faith until the end that, beneath the rust of conformism, bright elements exist within human nature that can break free from the misery of the little man and finally evolve into a truly free human being. The musical coda, from Kyr Pantelis to the metal soundtrack of The Little Man. Writing for a music webzine, it's impossible not to connect Reich's archetype to a legendary character from Greek rock history, Kyr Pantelis, meaning honorable man, Mr. Pantelis. This is a brilliant track written by Ponos Tavalas and famously covered by the influential rock band Magic Dispel. Kyr Pantelis is the quintessential law-abiding, quiet neighbor who counts his grocery store revenues while fascists are slaughtering people outside. He is the perfect local embodiment of Reich's conformist massman. This exact passivity, hypocrisy, and blind obedience to authority have been blasted through some of the greatest riffs in heavy music history, creating the ultimate soundtrack to Reich's book. First, Iron Maiden, 2 Minutes to Midnight. The ultimate heavy metal chronicle of human self-destruction. The blind men shouting to let the creatures out are the exact little men cheering on the wars of their leaders. Second, Halloween, I Want Out, the power metal anthem of individual sovereignty. A direct scream against the comfortable prison of the establishment, demanding that you break the chains and take charge of your own life. Third, Metallica, The Shortest Straw. A fierce attack on witch hunts and the blacklisting of dissidents, a perfect sonic representation of how the status quo systematically ruined Reich's life. Fourth, Queensrÿche, Spreading the Disease, a progressive metal dissection of mass manipulation. It perfectly captures how institutional power structures keep the ordinary man medicated, distracted, and submissive. Fifth, Sacred Reich, The American Way, right down to the band's name. A thrash metal assault on consumerism and a population trained not to think just to feel safe. Sixth, Creator, People of the Lie, Mil Petrotz's People of the Lie are Reich's little men, those who hide their inner hatred, fear, and suppressed instincts behind polite social conventions. Listen, Little Man is not an easy or relaxing read. It is a confrontational book. Yet, despite the author's visible resentment, it remains a timeless classic. Essential for anyone who wants to understand not only the psychology of the masses but also the hidden, dark corners of their own reflection.